Hello everybody, Mr. SLIN here with a demo review of 4G's Lansky. Lansky, the Mansky, David, Lansky, Polanski. Uh, really looking forward to this. Actually, I haven't done a pocket review yet, so this will be a good opportunity to, go over some pocket strats, talk to you a little about the game sense, and give you guys a better idea of what's going on in the game here. So, without further ado, let's hop into the game. Alright, so this is the upper bracket match between 4G and Elevate from the CEVO LAN playoffs. And Lansky, he's an interesting pocket. I would consider him to be long leash. He actually runs gunboats a lot of the time, and there's two different kinds of pockets. There's long leash and short leash. Long leash allows the medic a little bit more freedom in terms of roaming and gives a pocket some open opportunities to make something happen. And then what happens in turn is the scouts tend to play a little bit closer to the medic, so that's really good for this team. Actually, with this setup, Banny likes to play with a lot of heals. You can see Lansky not able to do much on that middle. I think he was running gunboats there, and you'll see that happen a lot when you're watching Lansky play. He actually will switch pretty liberally between gunboats and shotgun. And I remember a number of years ago, Platinum was talking about how double gunboats pocket might be a good thing. This was back on Chess Club when Try was running gunboats, and his comment was that shotgun was just way too powerful on LAN to not run. But I've been watching Lansky for a long time, and he actually makes very good use of the gunboats. If you guys didn't know this, Lansky actually used to play roaming soldier for classic mix-up back in the day, and he's very comfortable with the gunboats right here. As we see him just kind of actually roaming around a little bit. You can see him not quite playing with his medic, and this is what I was saying before. When he goes for these little opportunities, he actually allows the scouts to get more of the heals. So by playing gunboats, by playing more of that roaming soldier style, it actually allows more heals to go on the scout class. And the reason why that's a good thing is because in the current metagame, scouts are probably the strongest class in the game as it stands. I know a lot of people like to say that Demoman is the strongest class that does the most damage, but the way that the game is currently playing out, the scouts just do everything. They can choose their fights. Mobility is king, and being able to choose when you fight and when you decide not to fight and when you're not deciding to run away from the enemy, it's really powerful because it limits the amount of damage that you take. And but putting on your heals into scouts is actually very effective. And you can see Lansky, he's not afraid to chase down the enemy roamer as he did right there. And actually with this one-man advantage, they're going to begin pushing into middle. They have an 80% advantage, and let's see how they take this Uber in, because when you have an Uber advantage, you want to flash a lot of people in. Lansky just taking the high ground. You can see he's not even getting healed right now. Does get popped by Shade. And down to 30 health. He's not going to be able to do too much here. No! Woo! Nice little rockets there from Lansky. Hitting up the soldier. Blaze finishing off with another air shot. And yeah, it's really interesting. A lot of players at the lower levels will tend to comment, "Oh, my pocket's not sticking with me enough." But Lansky is one of the prime examples of how a pocket soldier doesn't have to stick with the medic if other classes are willing to do it. And I mean, of course, on a team like 4G, you got a stacked roster, so everyone knows how to play with the medic. But you can see, yeah, Lansky is clearly running gunboats right here as he's quickly rolling back out to middle. And I asked Lansky about this once, when do you know when to run gunboats? When do you know when to run shotgun? I haven't seen him run shotgun in this match yet, but what he was telling me was that he tends to switch to gunboats when he needs to catch back up to his team quickly because he doesn't lose much health. He gets to that fight faster and, reduces the respawn disadvantage when he's dead. Mela does get a rocket down on a Shade. Shade surfs it out nicely, and looks like Lansky's going to come back in to contest a little bit. Good rocket finisher there. And so let me explain to you a little bit about how the roaming soldier style works. So when you're roaming soldier, you do one of two things. You either open up a play or you close off the play, meaning you hit the rocket to open it up and allow someone to finish it off, or you're the one coming in later and finishing off the frag as well. Okay? So it's really difficult without the shotgun to start a fight and finish it. But when you do have the shotgun, that's what it's for. You open it up with your own rockets and you finish it off with your own shotgun. But when you're running gunboats like this, you kind of have to be a little pickier with your fights. But of course the upside is that you get a lot more mobility out of it. You can see he's kind of having to be sparing with his rockets because that's all he has. But he's able to take high ground. You can see he's just floating away from his medic. A long leash pocket can do that sort of thing where they take high ground, jumping away from their medic, and you saw him do that on middle. You see him doing it here at last. And a short leash pocket won't do those kinds of larger jumps. They'll tend to stay closer to the medic, tend to stay tighter, and take more heals as a result of that. So when you play this sort of gunboats pocket style, I like to think of the team grouping into two little pods, two little groups, and there's a soldier and a scout in each group. And so the soldier, and the reason you group together the soldier and the scout is because it's like the scout is the soldier's shotgun. So a lot of times you'll see Lansky jump in, make something happen, and then the scout will come in and follow that up for him. Right here, they lost a couple players, and they're not going to win this fight, so they're just going to back right out of this. Now, here's the downside, of course, is that when Lansky's on gunboats, he's not able to build Uber for his medic, but it's not really a big problem because it's going to even out by the time the enemy team gets to a 4th point here, or 2nd point, I guess. It looks like they're going to spam a little bit. You can see they're not in position, and they're down in numbers, so there's no way they're going to win that fight if they took it, so it's really smart by 4G to back off and give that up. And as you can see, the gunboats didn't really play anything in there in terms of being able to build Uber because Shade's going to get it in time for last anyways. If Shade did have Uber before the enemy team had captured 2nd point, they still wouldn't have blocked it. Like I said, they were down a player and they weren't in position to properly defend the Spire. So in this hold, there's a lot of different holds you'll see on Sunshine Last, but typically you'll see the pocket soldier hold at the top left, and Lansky's able to actually poke forward and get the Uber force. He's actually going to stay pretty close to the doorway because he doesn't want the enemy team into last for free. And there was an option for him to pop the Uber there at the doorway, but oh no, Shade drops a little bit too greedy. That's a little bit unfortunate. There's a couple different options there. So Lansky could have either played really close to the doorway and popped the better Uber and killed the enemy team, or he could have backed off completely and gotten Shade away from the door. But they kind of did a little bit of both. Like Lansky backed off a little bit, but he still stayed close to the doorway, and then with Decimate coming in there, he's able to drop Shade. So a little bit unfortunate. I think Shade was a little bit greedy with the Uber too, but that's what happens when you're playing medic. If you're not close to a doorway, if you don't, you want to pop your Ubers into something. You want to do something with your Uber. You don't want to get forced. So that does happen a lot for medics where they drop an Uber because they don't want to get forced. They want to actually use the Uber to push through a choke or use the Uber to kill enemy players. You can see here that Shade has a slight advantage, and Melee being down, that's going to open up a play here for Lansky. You can notice how he's taking it slow. He is playing close with his team, but he also then, once he realizes the choke is clear, then he takes the high ground and spams. And that allows his team to come through. And Shade's, she could say Shade, the scout just got around and got onto Shade. And I think that was a little bit of a miscommunication because Lansky jumped the top right roof and Shade walked on the left side of middle. So they should have stayed a little bit closer together. I think if Shade would have walked right towards the cafe, he would be underneath Lansky's shadow. There's just a miscommunication. If Shade wanted to go left, maybe Lansky should have gone left there. But either way, they both just went in different directions, and that's what allowed the opportunity for Shade to have that opening. Now, when you look back at that play and you ask yourself, okay, whose fault is it, right? Is it Lansky's fault for not blocking for his medic, or is it the scout's fault for not protecting his medic? And really, don't look at it as a fault thing. Don't look at it as when you're looking at these pocket soldier plays. Don't think of it like, oh, Lansky should have been there. That's his fault that Shade died. No, it's a team thing. They had to go in the same direction together. They had to get on the same page. That's the way you should be looking at it. Because when you're placing fault, when you're placing blame like that, it's really easy to do, and it's not really very constructive. So Lansky taking his position on the top left, and you notice how he's not afraid to play without a buff. So whereas a soldier who plays short leash, who plays with shotgun, is typically going to want to have a buff at all times, Lansky is just playing it. He literally is like a roamer in this match. I'm actually pretty surprised to see that. Like I said, the last soldier I saw to play this kind of style was Try back on Chess Club playing double gunboats, and I really like the way that it works here on 4G. So there's typically 3 different targets that your medic is looking to heal. He's looking to heal the pocket soldier, the demo man, or the pocket scout. You can call it the pocket scout, some people call it the combo scout, some people call it the passive scout, but it's a scout that takes more heals. On this team it's Banny, and basically those 3 players have to find a way to share the heals. Some teams will have their scouts play very passively, so that way the pocket can take more heals. You'll see that on a team like Classic Mix-Up in the past when Squid was playing on the team. You had Squid and Enigma not taking many of the heals. Now Harblue's playing scout for them, but that was typically their setup, right? Platinum took a lot of heals, and they put a lot of heals on Seagull as well on Demo Man, and then when they had TLR and Platinum, they did the same way. They put a lot of heals onto Pocket Demo. On this team, you can see that Lansky is not taking a big portion of the heals, and a lot of the heals are instead going to Demo Scout. Now, the Pocket still has some really important roles. One of the most important roles on the team for a Pocket Soldier is to occupy choke points. There's no team that can occupy a choke. There's no player, I mean, that can occupy a choke point as well as a Soldier can. Demo Man, if he stands too close to the choke, yeah, he has a trap there, but he might leave himself vulnerable to a close range attack. While a Scout doesn't have the burst damage, the ability to lock off a choke. He doesn't have a high enough health to lock off a choke properly, and that's where Soldier really wants that buff. But when they're out in the open here, Lansky doesn't really need that much health at all, and you can see him just jumping around on the high ground. He's not playing with the heals on this middle. You can see Scout all over him, but he's actually able to hold that off quite nicely. Oops. Lansky's gonna have to sit back and wait for the health, but it's okay because the other enemy team are down in players, and it looks like they're just gonna be able to capture this off. I believe Banny's out there chasing Kozin or something. It looks like they were taking down Rando instead. It was hard to see. And Lansky, yeah, he's still playing that roaming role. Getting some cap time onto the Spire here. It's weird, right? If you didn't know better, you would say that Lansky's maybe not even playing Pocket Soldier, if to the untrained eye. But he's just floating around the map, and like I said, look at this choke point that he's occupying on the top right here. He's occupying that for his team, while Duwatna is taking the heals on the bottom left shutter, trying to make an opening from there. So Lansky holding the high ground doesn't need a lot of health, but Duwatna, and see, look, and the Scouts pushing in for 4G down that left side, really putting a lot of pressure on the enemy team. He's jumping in with 180-ish health, coming back and finishing off a frag. It's very difficult. Going back to what I was saying earlier with the Soldier grouping up with the Scout, it's very difficult to kill a person with 4 rockets. I mean, the chance of you hitting all 4 rockets directly, like, yeah, if you hit all 4 rockets for 100 damage each, you're gonna kill something, but you're not typically gonna hit that. Not at this level. You're gonna go for splash damage, 50 to 80 damage rockets, and if you hit 4 of those, you might do 200 damage spread out across 4 or 5 seconds. That's pretty easy for the enemy player to kite that away in time. So you're really looking to, like I said, open up a play to push the enemy back and maybe create an opening for someone to get a pick, or you're following up afterwards. And when you saw Lansky jump into last, then he jumped back to finish off the enemy Soldier. That's kind of the play you're looking for there. So you see Lansky taking in the Uber on the top right, and like I said, no better class at occupying a choke point. And as soon as they break the choke point, Lansky doesn't take the heals. He takes the high ground, takes the gun down, and really makes it difficult for the enemy to come back in towards the point, because yeah, they could shoot the Scouts and Demo Man on the point, but then Lansky's on that high ground occupying that. He can drop right into them and really put some damage into them. So I really like the way that's happening. When they have that Uber advantage, they pop Lansky through the choke to deal with anything in the choke there, and then once that happens, he's able to just jump through onto high ground and then not take any heals. And Scouts really excel on those open areas, while Soldiers really excel on those choky points, and you can see how that's working out there in terms of who Shade is Ubering. So Lansky just taking it slow, making sure he has rockets loaded, realizing he's pretty hurt. I don't like this choice, actually, to back out and take the health pack, because he's actually putting his team 2 players down. With Clockwork dying and Lansky backing out completely, that put his team down 2 players for the time being, and then Elevate was able to push through and make something happen. So I would have liked to see Lansky take that 100 health and maybe do something with it, or maybe just get the rest of his team to back out. And that looks like most of them have backed out alive. They lost 2 Scouts, but they did get the bulk of their team out alive. So they're going to have even Ubers here, but again, the same situation to which we saw in the first round, in which they don't have enough players to contest this. They're not in position to contest the Spire. If they go for this here, I'd be very surprised. Lansky's actually able to find an opening and walk through for free. Top left, it goes for a greedy air shot, and he's not going to have enough rockets loaded to actually continue fighting here. So he's going to back off, reload, come back in, and notice he's not taking the heals. All the heals are going to Scout Demo for 4G. Lansky's job is to make sure that not too many players from the enemy team just push directly into his Demo Man, into his medic. He does a decent job of holding that off. I think he could have taken less damage, but they're going to win the team fight. Kozin's in a lot of trouble, and the longer he takes to die, the worse it is for his team, because Shade's going to build more Uber advantage. It's actually going to work out here. 4G win the team fight, and Lansky was the last person to die. He's going to be the last person to spawn, but again, being on gunboats is going to favor him a little bit here. He's going to be able to roll out pretty quickly. The one thing, when you do run shotgun as a Pocket Soldier, rolling back out to catch up to your team, you're always worried about, I don't want to take too many rocket jumps to take too much damage, because I want to arrive at the fight with about 200 health. But Lansky, you can see he didn't have to grab that many health packs, and he's still able to arrive with about 170, so it's going to work out okay for him. He's not able to build Uber, and so when they want to build Uber, you'll see Shade deferring to a Scout to build with the Boston Basher. But it looks like they're coming in here with 50% advantage. And look who the Uber targets are going to be. It's going to be Lansky and a scout. And now that they busted through the choke, Lansky's going to keep pushing forward, walking through the next choke point. Here's Lansky's got the beam again. He needs the beam there to be able to break through the trap from Badonsky. And here comes the Uber. And see, once they've gotten through this area, all the Uber is going onto the scout. Lansky taking his familiar position here on the high ground pipe. And getting the cap down for his team. Up to 3-1 as we approach halftime. Alright, so let's do a little bit of a recap of what you guys saw in the first half, because I want you guys to be able to take something away from watching this. A lot of you guys will watch this demo back and you'll ask yourself, okay, like, what can I learn from this gameplay? You know, I'm a pocket soldier. I don't use gunboats. I typically run shotgun. What am I going to take away from this? Well, at the very minimum, watching this makes you aware of the gunboats pocket playstyle, because when you play against an enemy player who's using gunboats on pocket, you're going to want to be aware of what they're looking to do. And as you saw in the first half, Lansky's job was to break through a choke, and then take high ground and just create that, bring that presence for his team. With Duatna going down really early, they're just going to back out and give that up completely. But the other thing too is that you might even consider running gunboats yourself, because you can see that it's very effective. Lansky's able to just jump around the map. Look at this. Oh, look how much damage he's doing right there as he jumped up in that high ground. Wow. Really looking strong. Not able to finish anybody off there, but that was still a great try for his team. And you notice how when he jumped up onto that white platform, he just did a couple rockets, then saved one rocket to get out. That's a very Romer-esque style of play, but his main focus is to stay alive. He's, just because he's running gunboats doesn't mean he's just going in there and suiciding all the time. That time right there when he died, he got a little bit caught off guard. I don't think he realized that their Elevate had as many players in the cafe as they did, but his main goal is to stay alive, and he's not looking to take that many heals away from his team. You'll notice that for the majority of the time, he's not getting topped off to 300. His health is staying is about maybe 200, 250, and he's really using the heals to break through the choke point. After that point, they move forward, and then he kind of just takes a backseat role in the push. You see Blaze has more health than him. He's going to move up and take the right side battlements. And Lansky's going to take it slow. See, yeah, Shade only gave him about 270 there before he stopped healing him. Lansky's going to take this position. He seems to really like this position on the top right, because it just gives him this high ground control over the bottom right lower lobby. And he's able to, quickly jump up here to the high ground. This is his favorite spot, as you can see when he pushes last point. He's easily able to damage enemy players, and there's absolutely no one there to contest him, because the enemy team is so focused on shooting the last point that Lansky can just sit there on the pipe all day long. There was not a single soul shooting at him. And you'll notice that because he's doing that, he doesn't need any heals. So as long as he's taking it, not taking as much of the heals, it's great. And this is actually a playstyle that I've been hearing about for a couple years now in terms of, okay, where's the metagame going? And one of the things that a lot of teams like to do is to put a lot of heals into their pocket soldier. Use the pocket soldier as the tank for the team. Use him to soak up damage and absorb hits from the enemy team. But what we're noticing in this game particularly is that as the enemy team damages scouts, it's really working out for their team. It's sort of that evasion tank role, where when you shoot the scout, he's got that dodge potential. He's able to move around quickly, double jumping around. He's got a lower health cap, so it's easier to heal him up to 185 rather than healing a soldier all the way up to 300. And the scout is actually able to control the open areas a lot better than what a soldier is able to do. So Lansky, he's confined to that pipe up there on last. He's confined to the bell tower on middle. But at least he's comfortable there where he's not taking damage. He's able to spam rockets and use the high ground to force enemy players into other positions that they don't want to be in. And you can see right here, he's bombing up. He could have sat on top of that fence if he wanted to, that wood fence, but he's just coming over the top, doing a couple rockets to help finish off those kills and really help move his combo through. You can see as his team is capturing the point, this is something that a lot of lower teams tend to do. They tend to stack the middle point, but you notice how 4G is leaving a couple players to capture middle and then pushing the rest of their team forward ahead with the number advantage. Blaze unfortunately goes down, but it's going to be even Ubers, and I think Lansky wants to exchange. The even pops approximately, and I love how Duatna stays out of this Uber. Lansky gonna back up a bit. He realizes that they're not winning the situation, but they actually were able to separate Alpha from the rest of the team back there. Wow, this is a very Romer-esque move, bombing into the choke and trying to finish off a kill. I think, oh, Badonsky down to 9 health. I mean, he should have died there, but this goes back to what I was saying earlier. You get 4 rockets on that gunboat's pocket, and it's really difficult to finish off a kill on your own. If someone else would have shot at Badonsky, he would have gone down, right? 9 health left. Would have been an easy kill to finish off. But it was a great idea from Lansky, because at the very minimum, he was buying time for his team to back off, and he did a ton of damage there. And if he would have traded with the demo man, that would have been a good trade. Able to easily finish off the scouts here as they push the choke, a little bit overextended for Elevate. And Lansky's going to continue moving his way through. And look at the way the heals are going. Duatna's at 260. Duatna is staying topped off at 260 for so much of this game. Lansky, on the other hand, is happy to roam around the map and look for the enemy player behind. So we talked about some of the strengths of this gunboat pocket style, right? We talked about why you would want to run gunboat's pocket. Now, what are some of the downsides? I mean, you notice as Lansky's roaming his way around the map, as we saw earlier in this match, the scouts are able to easily flank shade. You know, if your scouts are the kind of scouts that run around the map, that run off on their own, this style might not work out for you, because you're going to leave Shade and Duatna by themselves. And a demo man is not the strongest class to defend against the roamer, to defend against a scout. And your positioning and your scouts really need to help you to defend against those close range threats. Because if Lansky's jumping around the map and jumping away from the combo, it's going to be a problem for you. And I love the way they take this Uber in here. There's only a couple players left alive for Elevate, and Lansky's able to sniff out Kozin and take him down. And, oh, another important thing here. Notice how he backed his way out of last. He knew that the respawners were coming up for Elevate, and if he would have stayed at last, he would have had to fight a 1v2 against Badonsky and Decimate. And it was really smart of him to back up to the rest of his team, regroup, make sure they get that 4th point down, and then play the heals to be able to break through this next choke point. But you can see that they weren't able to make it through. Ooh, actually, they do get a kill on the melee, but Lansky's so hurt, so treat it like a 5-on-5 almost. But, you know, Lansky, he's going to come back to his team. They realize they have Uber advantage. They're going to wait to build this up again. And notice when they take this next Uber in, who are their Uber targets? It's got to be Lansky and a scout. Actually, this is a little bit aggressive. I don't know if I agree with this. They do get Kozin down again for a second time, but that was not the best play in my book. They should have just waited, built the Uber advantage. I mean, yeah, sure, they have Uber advantage now, but they're actually opening up an opportunity for Elevate to push out. This is exactly what they didn't want to happen. Look here, as Badonsky pushes through and takes down Shade, a big misplay from 4G. Not Lansky's fault. Lansky, it looked like he wanted to just sit in lobby and let things chill out, but I'm not quite sure who it was on 4G. It looks like the flanking players on 4G wanted to go for a push, but they clearly had Uber advantage, and this is a bit of a mistake. Actually allowing Kozin to build up a slight Uber advantage, and this allows them to defend last. So even though 4G are back in the same situation they were in before, I don't know if this will work out for them. They do have huge number advantage as they push into last, and looks like in a transition play they're able to finish off the match there. So works out for them. Elevate messed up their push out of last, but still a great match. Some really interesting food for thought. I really want you guys to, you know, take a look at this game, maybe watch it back again and ask yourself, is this something that I'm interested in running when I'm in league play? What do you think about Gunboat's Pocket? What do you think about the potential for it? Obviously, this is the best team in the world right now, so their opinion does have some clout. But I would like to do some other demo reviews in the future of Pocket Soldiers running shotgun, and you know, you can compare it and contrast the different styles and decide for yourself which one you think is stronger. But I really think it's interesting to watch 4G in action, to watch Lansky running gunboats. You didn't see him use shotgun once this game, and whereas in past seasons he would have run shotgun and then switching on and off to gunboats, in this match in particular, and this is a very recent match, he's running full-time gunboats, and on a large map like CP Sunshine, it works out really perfectly for 4G's playstyle. So I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed this demo review, and I'll be sure to catch you guys on the next video. Take care. Thanks so much.